Hello and welcome back to the Grassroots Hotline podcast from Wembley Stadium. Another lovely day here. What a backdrop for anyone watching on YouTube. And I'm delighted to say that this week we are joined by Abigail Ingram, who is the London manager at Girls United Football Association. First of all, did I get that all right?
You got it all right. We were bantering you off camera, but I'm pretty proud with that.
You were
happy with that.
But you were willing me on to fail in the intro. So
only for future
She said she was going to call you out as well if that did happen.
Yeah.
I was excited, yeah.
For me, this podcast, I've already won here. I've done my bit, so I feel relaxed now. But it's great to have you with us at
Home
Wembley.
advantage and all that.
Yeah, true. Well, it's on your patch. This is London. We're Mancunians.
This is true.
Yeah, so I'm the away team, but we started off well. Thanks very much for coming down, though, because I know it's anywhere in London. It's not exactly round the corner, is it? So thanks for coming to join us.
All good. Yeah, I'm super excited and, like you said, buzzing outside. So, yeah, hopefully I'll get a nice tan on my neck.
Well, let's start off at the beginning of your story then, because we were talking off air about the teams that we support. I'm a Manchester City fan, Rohan's a Liverpool fan, videographer, editor, content, producer, does all the jobs. Prash is a Chelsea fan. But then you said, I don't really support a team. And that's a conscious choice. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's been a while actually. Like even when I was growing up, I think I kind of supported teams. So I grew up in South Croydon, so Palace was my closest. My whole household, my younger brother, my dad, diehard Leeds fans. And I was always like, I don't get it. Like you're really, really emotional. I'm emotional about football, but about the game that they can't hear you. Like you're screaming at a telly. And I'm like, they can't hear you. You're not influencing. Fair if you're in the stadium. Like, I kind of get all that side. I think that's an amazing atmosphere. Hanging out, watching it with other people, like, totally cool. But I'm like, people move, things change. Like, I don't really understand that too much. And honestly, I don't think I could handle if I lost and everyone telling me in the playground that I was, supporting a bad team. So I was like, I'm just going to stay neutral, enjoy football, and then just, mock anyone that needed it, really.
So you
needed a bit of a...
You made that...
You can't take the abuse in the playground, you just dish it out instead.
I can definitely dish it out, yeah.
But you just made that conscious choice as a child as well. Like that's a very, wise choice to make. Like, unaffected by the emotion of it. And you're just like, I'm just going to enjoy football and not get stressed.
No, again, I think I definitely did own a few shirts and stuff. And,
it's all coming out now, yeah.
Nah, but I think some of that was a little bit to fit in, but I think also just I didn't want to fully miss out. So I was like, I need to find a grounding. But again, I was a bit like, well, Palace ain't they were okay, but up and down, wasn't really expecting too much. Leeds, I was like, oh no, they got relegated quick after I was born. So I was a bit like, trophies were never going to be in my household if it weren't one of us playing at least or coaching. So I think the fans, I was just like, let me just go support anyone that's playing a good game.
Yeah, fair. I mean, life would be easier that way. I respect that you didn't become a glory hunter though. You were a upset avoider.
Yeah, definitely.
You just didn't want to be gotten down.
I think, just chasing a team that is doing well, I think is probably less committal. So I was like, do you know what? No one gets my footballing love, so we'll just put it somewhere else instead.
I rate that. So how did that love of football develop then? Like, how did you actually, obviously you've mentioned family, love football, but I mean, when did your love of football really start?
To be honest, probably so young that I don't remember. I do mock at at Girls United, that being one of the older staff, that I've had a different journey to some of those. And I think I was quite fortunate that, my dad, I had a younger brother, we played a lot. I kind of grew up in New Addington, Croydon. So a lot of it was always with just people meeting in the streets. We had a little alleyway and we'd play one touch through there against the wall. We'd play one touch and absolutely try stitch people up by kicking this mini size one football underneath the car. So you had one touch.
That's bringing back so many memories. Right? It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Or going to the field and playing Wembley doubles and stuff like that. So I think I was quite fortunate that in my primary school, there was a few different playgrounds. One was a football pitch and kind of just went on there with the wind blowers and you just try to smash it and it'll go anywhere and sometimes into the hedge and burst. And I think from that, again, I was quite supported by two male coaches that were like, oh, like, yeah, come play for the primary school team. And I was like, okay, cool. And then like it turned into a big thing where it's like in the local newspaper. And I was just like, why is this happening? Like, I didn't really understand. And it wasn't until like my parents were like, well, yeah, but you're like, you are the only girl on the team. Like, and we go around and there's not many others. And I was like, oh, okay, but like we're in a final. And they were like, yes, you are. Like, like it just went straight over my head. And I think even when I was like in second year, I was like, yeah, I'm playing. My dad's kind of set up this team at Crystal Palace. Like I went there and I was too young. So then we had to go find a few other girls to like make a team. And I think even through that, like, I was quite like, yeah, fortunate and probably just naive to all this stuff that was going around me. And it was just made like easy for me. And to the point where then like I was like 16, kind of going, okay, cool. Like I'm playing still for Crystal Palace. Like they're asking me for the first team and reserves, played in some like amazing games. But I was like, this is just a game. Like I'm not going to make money off this, like really. So then I was like, oh, I'm going to go to college. And then I remember going around all the colleges and I was just like, oh, this is boring. Like, I don't want to study. Like, I still want to play football. So it was like one of only like football, like kind of education programs. After that, I was like, do you know what? I'm starting to get a little bit old now. I was only 18, but I felt old. So then I went to uni, started coaching more and yeah, kind of made that transition from there. But it's always been like in my life, like, yeah, from the kind of like playground through to the alleyways and then like more organized football. But I think the key thing is just like I didn't realize that it was difficult, and the people around me, like whether it was my family, my friends, like they made it a lot easier. And I always feel quite fortunate that even some of the like females that I got to hang out with at school, like they were still quite sporty, like so they would even like just have a go at it because of their brothers and stuff. So it was never like made like this big thing until like later, and I was like, oh yeah, yeesh.
Did it ever get you down though that, I mean, it sounds like you just sort of batted it off, but did it get you down that you were sort of the only one on the team, or do you just feel comfortable? I mean, as you said, people made it a bit easier for you.
I think in primary school, most of the time I felt pretty comfortable. I think there's like stories that my parents would be like, oh yeah, but like, don't you remember this? And I was like, I don't, but like, I do believe that happened. And they were like, oh, this boy like tackled you. And then they were like, you ran back and like jumped on his back. And, like, and I was like, yeah, no one's scoring past me. Like, I don't care. Like, so I think I was quite just like, I don't know. I think at the time it was like, I'm a player. Like, it doesn't really faze me too much. I'd probably get more upset or more annoyed if I didn't feel like I was being passed to, or I didn't feel like trusted with that. And I think, again, like we're speaking offline, I think as a player, I had a bit of a like kind of footballing ego where I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like, doesn't matter too much like what I'm gonna do because I'm probably gonna do something okay-ish. It wasn't until I got a bit older then like my confidence was like maybe I'm not, but as a kid I think that was just really built up around me, and I was quite fortunate in that. But yeah, I think there was moments where then as I got older I was like, wait, why is this easier for a boys team, or why is this easier for, you know, like when I was in secondary school, going on tour was like easy. They were like field a team, everyone was going off to Spain, they go, or off to Italy, they go, wherever they're going. For us as girls, I was like begging like other years. I was like, no, please come, it'll be sick. And then we just like mismatched team together, and it was amazing. But I think those are the kind of little differences that I'm like, okay, maybe if I didn't have that network around me, it wouldn't have been like that. And I think that always then like comes back into, well, what am I going to do for this when I know that isn't always the case.
So is that something that you were doing from a younger age? You were always kind of rallying people to try and get into
I didn't want to miss out, like really.
And was that more from like you didn't want to miss out, or you still wanted other people to also share that experience? Or was it genuinely just you?
It was at the time, in all honesty, yeah, it probably was a little bit about me. I think like football is obviously like an amazing one where you can like connect with other people. And I think like for me, like when I reflect back on it, like it's always at school. Yeah, there was a few of my mates and I was like, okay, cool. I don't want to miss out. I know you don't want to miss out. So like if we go convince one more over here, they'll have a few people. So I think it then does become that. And then when we went on tour, like we went to Italy, like with my school. And again, like not every school does that. So it's quite fortunate, just good timing. But on the flip side, when we were there, like it does become like, okay, well now we're all here together. Like, how do we make this all sick for each other versus like just individually? And then when we got back, like, yeah, we did get to go play against other schools and stuff because we'd shown this kind of like commitment to each other.
So is that almost the starting point of that happening?
I think for the high school, yeah, like definitely. It was like one of the first times they had a girls kind of football team and stuff, and that was sick, yeah. So I was pretty happy with that, but to be honest, I did just want to go to Italy.
It sounds though like what Rohan just said. There's a theme like already where you and the people around you made it happen. Like you said with your dad starting Team Crystal Palace, you go and find other girls to play, and then at the school, like obviously the difference now, and we'll come on to that in terms of the opportunities for girls, but you didn't really seem like you just wanted to accept the situation. Like you did push for it.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely something that's kind of like been driven into me as a young person. Like if you want something, you're gonna go have to like make something happen. Some of that will come through like luck and good timing, and some of it maybe just isn't meant to be. But if you don't try it and go and explore it, then you know you can't just expect things to happen. And again, I think I was quite fortunate that the people around me in my peer groups, even if they weren't football, like I remember someone wanted to go trial rugby at our school, and they were just like, "Okay, cool. Like, so who's gonna come help me do this?" And we were like, yeah, okay, like I'll help, but like, I don't want to play, but I do kind of owe you because you came to Italy with me. So let me, kick a rugby ball around for a second. But I think, that kind of like, and again, for me personally, I think some of that does come down to like even where we grew. So like grew up, like, so again, South Croydon, New Addington, like not the easiest place as a young person to grow up, and you need a little bit of street awareness and that side. But also it is a good community if you get on with people and you can like kind of like build and kind of create something positive from that. And that's the main thing, like, what can you build for yourself and for others to enjoy it?
That's like the sort of ethos you need in grassroots football as well, isn't it? Like it's a community run by volunteers, and okay, there's obviously going to be moments where there's friction and disagreements, but ultimately like everyone's coming together for the good of the community.
Oh yeah, if there's no friction, then no one's being honest, in my opinion. Like you need some of that, and I think it's just how you can like work through it with people and come to that. And I think some of that then like the best ideas come from as well. So if there's no friction, I think someone's lying somewhere.
So were you playing for like Sunday league teams as well, or were you like who were you playing for at this time?
I went pretty early into Crystal Palace, which was really cool. And again, I think a few years after I kind of stopped there, I was like, oh wow, now they're like Tier 3 and WSL2, and I was like, oh damn, I should have stuck it out a little bit longer.
So did you choose to leave? Or
I chose to leave at 18. Like I finished on a really cool kind of season. We played like Chelsea reserves in the Surrey Cup. We'd played like Arsenal in the FA Cup. I'm not gonna lie, I think we got battered about 9. I was like, at the time I was like, oh my god, Rachel Yankee.
Kelly Smith.
I was like, wow. Like I was 16 and like the gaffer was like, oh yeah, you're going on. I was like, 6-0, I don't think so. And he was like, it's a good experience, and I was like, okay, but got to 18, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to like uni, I'm gonna go to Brunel, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll still play there. Like they had a decent football side, and knew a few people in a year above, so I was like, oh, that'd be all right level. And some of them were like still playing at Reading and Portsmouth and stuff, so I was like, oh, this won't be too much. But then after uni, I was like, wait a second, I can earn a bit of cash by coaching, and I don't have to do pre-season. I was like, this is perfect for me. So pretty much most of my time was at Palace, but uni. Then made a few little appearances when I was like coaching at Fulham, AFC.
Player manager.
Yeah, not quite manager, but I think it was like...
When there's a pen that you need to be taking.
First team are taking a few too many. Abby, can you sign up? And I was like, oh yeah, I can sit on the bench, but not sure I can last time I lasted 90 minutes.
So like, is there... Obviously, you've made a huge impact in coaching. Like that's how I sort of came across your story. Are you happy with the sort of decision you made to stop playing? I guess just taking the coaching career forward.
Am I happy? I think that's a tough one. I think there's moments where I'm like, again, I've seen a few of my teammates that like did kind of get some of that success, like nowhere near where the players are at now and where they'll get in 10 more years. But I think for me and my personal journey, yes, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But there is always moments where I'm like, oh, what if I like did just stick it out a few more years? But I think that also gave me quite a good grounding into the coaching and what even like that transition looks like, and even just some of the fundamentals as like off pitch experience and like understanding. So I would say in general, yeah. But again, competitive Abby, younger Abby would probably be like, you should have stuck it out a little bit longer. But
yeah.
I don't mind pulling out a little free kick now and then in a community game or something.
So would you say that, because you just mentioned like competitive Abby and younger Abby,
Yeah.
would you say that even from a personal perspective then, like your take on football or the kind of you as an individual has kind of changed and developed as well?
I would say everyone that's knows me would say I'm still pretty competitive, but I think it's now like competitive in what's in my control. Whereas I think when I was younger, I was competitive, like I want to go beat every team, I want to go be the best, I want to go win 1v1s, I want to go score, and it was like a little bit more selfish in that sense in terms of like outcomes. Whereas now I'm like, okay, I want to be competitive and like, how do we provide a really good service, or like, how do I get like really efficient so I can then go and achieve loads of stuff, like, and then go make time for like days like this and stuff like that. So I would say I'm still competitive. It's just like a different direction of use of that energy now.
That's good.
You said that transition from like playing to coaching, it gave you a good grounding. What does it look like? Like, how do you go about doing that, or how did you do it?
Yeah, so I was at like Crystal Palace, and I was with the reserves and first team, and I was about 16, and in my college they were like, oh right, part of this you're going to do your level 1, and to do that you're going to have to go work in a primary school. We've all matched you up, like there's 2 of you, off you go. So me and my mate kind of turned up to his primary school, and then we were just like, oh my gosh, is this what kids are like? We're only like 16, 17. These kids are like year 4, and I'm like, they're feral. Like, what is this? I was like, oh no. And I was like, how am I going to last 10 weeks? And my mate was like, no, it's fine. Like, we've got a nice school. And I was like, okay. Like, deep breath. Remembered what I was like as a kid. So I was like, actually, maybe they're not that bad.
Yeah.
I was worse. Did our 10 weeks, and then we had to run this tournament at our sixth form. All the primary school kids came in, and I think our team came like first and second. Wow. And we were like, yes, girls! But they were all buzzing, like, because they were just cheering each other. Like, they didn't even care about the actual results.
Yeah.
But me and my mate, we were like looking around at the other coaches, like, yeah, look at us.
I'm just imagining you running down the touchline doing the Mourinho. Yeah.
Yeah, nearly, to be fair, but not quite, because my tutor was standing there. But yeah, we got into that, and then like the school were like, oh, like we've loved having you, like do you want to stay on, like earn a little bit of money from like the after school club? And again, like being 16, 17, we were like, oh, money, yeah, okay, like
yeah, that's a good way,
like, down the road, fits in with our training schedule. The school buzzing with us because they're like, oh, they've got a good network because they've just offered us this. And we were like, oh, everyone's a winner here. So stayed, enjoyed it. Like, and again, it was about this time of the year, so it was sunny outside compared to like dealing with it in October. I don't think we would have lasted.
Yeah.
And then from there, like next year, they were like, oh, so at the college, oh, do you want to do level 2? And we were like, here we go again. Here we go. But we had to go into an actual grassroots team. So I went to like Crystal Palace's like under 10s at the time. Their manager was amazing. They were just like, oh my God, the girls just look up to you. And I like, it didn't even clock for me that they were coming to watch like our adult games for the first team. Like then like I was coming down to like coach them.
That's cool. Like,
but,
yeah,
there was a lot of learning to go on that. That was like completely different. And they were like, this is boring. I was like, wow, I've never been told I was boring. Like, I was like, oh, okay. But
was that in terms of the sessions you were putting on?
Yeah, the sessions I put on, they were like, oh, this is boring. And I was just like, yeah, fair, probably is. Like,
who wants to do shooting practice?
Yeah, I was like, I never want to hear that again in my life. Like, I think every time now I plan, I think of that. I'm like, no, don't be boring. And then like from that kind of went to a few different like adult teams, like completed my level 2 after uni, got to coach there a little bit, and then like just kept kind of like rolling really and picking up different things and seeing what I liked, what I got, like what I didn't like, and what kind of clubs and stuff like that. And then I just landed like a role at Fulham after uni, and that was like, again, like game changing the amount of time I got on the pitch to go coach in different sessions. And I was like, I learned a lot just being like thrown into it. So yeah,
that's quality. I love Fulham, by the way. Like the Craven Cottage, what a ground! Like the areas.
It is.
I've been to watch City away games past couple of years. We seem to only play them when the weather's good, like at the end of the season.
I'm not complaining about that at
so
all.
You go to Putney Bridge after the game, and we've won the games, and like sun shining, having a few drinks. It's it's a great part of the world.
No, it was like, yeah, it was incredible. And I think for me, like I had an amazing, like I worked in the foundation, I had an amazing manager, and he was just like, yeah, like just go try stuff. Like there you go. And like had all this freedom, even though it's like a prem, like kind of dipped in between.
Would you say that's where you learn a lot of, like you were able to experiment the most in your kind of journey?
Yeah, and just like from different people, right? So you had some that were quite like a little bit still like old school, if you say, like, oh, you're going to do technical and then you're going to go move in, then this. Then we had like people come in and deliver like workshops around like video games and how do you create your practices to look like video games and not like just copy the storyline, but actually like power ups, level ups, like all that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, this is like changing. And then it was like, another person was like, oh, whole part whole. And I was like, I can start with a game, buzzing. No one's ever going to be bored with me if I start with a game. Like, start with that. And it was just like all this, again, like different age groups from like 5 through to like working with the women's like first team at the time and stuff. And I was just like trying to take it all in, but also like create my own style and see what I wanted to do and what fitted with me and what I was also just interested in, because I was like, if I'm doing this as a job or like spending most of my time in it and then doing it also voluntary, like if I'm bored, it ain't gonna last very long. But yeah, I think for me, it's just when you work in football, everyone talks about football, and it's just like making sure some of those are a little bit constructive, so you can learn something. Otherwise, everyone's gonna try and be doing this tippy tappy football as well. So you're like, my 5-year-olds at Clapham Common probably aren't doing that.
Yeah. It sounds like you had like a mega comprehensive education, even like coaching education, even to this point. Like you started off with year 4s at a school, and then Crystal Palace under 10s, and then various teams, then Fulham. Like you've already, even at like quite an early stage in your coaching journey, you must have learned a lot just from those different experiences.
Yeah, and even like playing, I was like, okay, cool. I liked what I saw in this manager and how they made me feel. And, you know, there was parts, like, even when my dad was coaching me, I was like, oh, there's parts that, like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And there's parts where I'm like, okay, cool. I can now start to understand that. Like, as, you know, Abby at 10-year-old, why maybe you did have to set those boundaries and, you know, like kind of do that. And then what that then meant, like, to be able to let that creativity come out on the pitch and stuff. And I think, like just being really like open to learn is super important. But then still going back to, well, what is important to me? So for me, like that hard work and that kind of like, I'm going to go make something happen. How do I also bring that out into my sessions and like problem solve? So I think that's, it's fun.
Obviously, like you're very experienced now, and we'll come on to like where you're up to and what you're doing with Girls United. But you just said that openness to learn. I guess when you've been doing it for so long, would you say you're still open to learning, or have you got a bit more of a fixed view about how you are as a coach?
I think I've got a bit more of a fixed view in terms of how I see myself, like as a person, and like kind of what my non-negotiables are. But I think it's open in the sense of like, okay, well, what is there still out there that is a blind spot to me that I didn't even know that I should go learn? And, you know, some of that is, and I talk about it like with our coach development, right? And I'm always like, okay, cool, I can go watch someone, but why can't they also give me feedback? Like, even if they're brand new to football, that doesn't mean they can't give me feedback. And some people are like, yeah, but like, you've had years. And I'm like, yeah, but if they see one thing that I can then like do, I want that 1%. Like, I want to know what that is. And that might just be because they did gymnastics, like when they were a kid instead. So I think there's still those like, all right, I want to go learn, and it's going to be from different spots. And that might be either from leadership. I think now it's probably a little less like, oh, I'm just going to go watch someone coach and learn. And it's a little bit more around, right, how in these moments can I learn about communication, or how can I go learn about, leadership, or how can I go learn about something else that brings out then my core skills as a coach to be even more efficient. But I think, there's non-negotiables for me that are a little bit more now fixed, and still like, okay, cool, what else is going to excite me?
Do you see those non-negotiables rubbing off on the girls themselves as well? Because you mentioned before about the fact that when you went into Palace, they saw you as almost like a bit of a role model figure. And obviously now, if you've got non-negotiables and kids are looking up to you already and they're kind of learning from that, are you seeing that also coming off in them when they're playing, or just the way they communicate to people, or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I would hope so. Like, again, I think it's always more interesting when someone else says that to you versus your own perception, right? So when like others have come and seen my group that I've been with for a year, they're like, oh, your girls like pack away the stuff. I'm like, yeah, why don't yours? Like, I don't understand. Like, that doesn't compute in my head that doesn't happen elsewhere. And then I'm like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, it's because like this for me is really important. And like, we've kind of spoken about that as a team, and they're aware that they're responsible for their equipment as well as I'm responsible for their equipment, and that's a team effort, not just a me effort. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm not your mum. Like, I'm not your parent. I'm not picking up after you. So I think it does rub off. But then I also think, again, like for me, the sessions designs around like, well, how do you be problem solvers? How do you communicate? Yeah. Some of that isn't until like they're a few years later and they get back in touch and they're like, oh, now I get it. And you're like, you got to be in it for the long run a little bit, because otherwise, yeah, if you're talking about like 10, 11-year-olds, they might not see it straight away. When they're like 14, they're like, oh, Abby, like, yeah, actually that means a lot. And you're like, oh, that's really cute. And that then, yeah, I think is really important. So
what years were you at Fulham then?
What year? So I joined Girls United 2019. So I think I was at Fulham 3 years before that. Okay. So I did their girls Premier League program, women's team. Then kind of like halfway through, took on their boys kind of like performance center program, which is where I did my UEFA B. That was like an eye opener, because it's like all these boys that want to like, they're like, oh, I'm going to make it pro. I'm going to make it pro. And that pressure of like, how do you actually support someone in that journey versus like previously it was a little bit more around how do you get more girls playing? Like, how do you just help them a little bit? Like, there was a girls development center, but not at this scale. And I was like, okay, this is where real, like, not real football takes place, but like the technical and like tactical detail. And I think that then like just elevated me on that front. Whereas I think before, like the rapport building, the psychological safety and all the kind of like game understanding happened. But this was like, all right, you got a whole team, but how do you make one person better within a team? And yeah, it was intense.
You never really think of it like that, do you? You kind of just think about it in terms of the academy structure is so well catered for and well funded that there's a big ecosystem around these people. And it's the grassroots coaches that are generally kind of doing everything themselves. But you never really think of it from that perspective of the pressure on the academy coaches to make sure that they're giving these players the right information.
Yeah.
It's because they think they're going to be the next person that makes it to the Premier League.
You almost have to impress them as well, like to show that you know what you're talking about and you're guiding them.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of pressure on that, like one for the players, one for the coaches. And I think for me, like, so this program sat like just below the academy, right? So some of the players had played there, got kind of kicked out, and they were like, okay, I need help to get back in there. And some of them were like maybe getting ready to go play at like kind of a tier 3, like EPPP academy. And you're like, okay, cool, what does that go look like? And even to the point where it's like, how do you help someone similar to a job interview? How do you help them get ready for a trial? Like, do they actually understand what that like no may look like? And then how do you let them pick them back up? Because it's like some of them it's like do or nothing. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like the end of the world in that moment, and you're like, all right, cool. But yeah, some of the coaches then went on to the academy and they were like, you get this support, you get this. Obviously there's different pressures, but they're like, I was doing all this like without some of that help. And you're just like, yeah, that is the realism of the steps before it, but intense.
Yeah, I bet. Any memories stand out during that time, like where, and I guess this is just for your sort of wider coaching journey, like where I know like you love football, but you must also take pride in like the helping people element of it. Does anything stand out that you've experienced?
Anything stand out? The first thing before you went into the pride and stuff, one thing definitely stood out where I was coaching a group of boys, under 15s, under 16s, and one of them kicked it and the other one went, don't kick it like a girl. And I was like, wait a second. And they were like, and they literally like melted. And I was like, because it was clearly the first time they've ever had like a female coach, right? And they showed me a lot of respect, like, and I was like, fair play. And you could tell this was just like a said it in the moment. And they were like, no, because Abby kicks it better than that. And I was like, this is great. Like the fact that they're having to self-recognize and just deal with that a little bit.
Immediately as well.
Yeah, it was like literally like a flip of the switch. And they were like, and then I never heard anything like that the rest of the season. I was like, yeah, that's like quite proud, because I'm like, in society, like, yeah, do have a bit of respect for, you know, what you think a girl or a female does versus what you think your standard kind of is as males. Thought that was like pretty sick. I think for me, like, and again, more probably Girls United, like some of them just trying stuff that you think they would never try like before. So some, got to go to Mexico where they've like maybe never left the country before. Like some have played in tournaments that they're like, I was going to give up. And you're just like, yeah, this is like the real power of what a sport and like a community around you can do. So I think there's always a lot of proud moments. And I'm like, sometimes it's hard when you're going through it day to day, like to stop and think. But for me, like awards nights and those kind of end of seasons, I'm like, oh, this is great, because now I'm like, it was all good.
Yeah.
But also like the random WhatsApp messages from parents, I'm like, this is sick. I needed this on a Wednesday morning. So anyone that is listening that wants to send me that, I'd appreciate it.
You can't ask for it. You get enough. You get plenty of recognition without asking.
If you don't ask, you don't get sometimes.
True. Yeah, and you won London FA's Grassroots. Was it Coach of the Year?
Yeah, female pathway Coach of the Year, which was amazing. Very
well deserved as well.
Yeah. Well, I was on the judging panel for that, and I think it was a nomination.
It was.
That came in
I
for you.
I definitely am not that big headed to
nominate. I know, but
it would have crossed my mind, but I wouldn't have done it.
I bet you asked them for it.
No, do you know what? I was more surprised they were able to keep a secret from me. They're normally like, yeah. So I was a bit suspicious when London FA were coming to our like kind of Girls United Awards, and I was just like, okay, cool,
something's going on.
Yeah. And then it was like, oh yeah, like GU got like the Lioness one. I was like, oh sick, all clapping, like all cheering. And then like Amanda came up and was like, Abby, and I was like, oh no, like what has happened here? And then it was really appreciated. And I think for me, I was just like, everyone that has been part of that, like I felt like they should also like kind of know that as well. So I kind of dropped them a message, and whether that was like, my ex-coaches or people that I've coached with, and there's people that have like given up their time to like help build like Girls United. So I was like, if that never got to that point, like that may not have happened. So but yeah, I'm clinging on to it for the last month before the next award. So
yeah, but it was richly deserved. Like the nomination, like the innovation in your sessions, and how you said as well earlier, I never want to be boring again. Never want to get called boring again. And
so true.
Your sessions like just sounded really fun, and you were thinking of new ways to sort of engage the people you were coaching. So that was quality to see.
No, yeah, I think, with the Girls United one, I definitely took a risk, because I think we were talking offline about my emoji session.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I am working at Fulham, so if I don't get this role, like I'm kind of not too upset, but also like this is kind of exciting, like building something. So I was like, let me just try something. And if they kind of get on board with it, I know it's the right kind of place for me, because they're going to let me go try things. So I had an iPad, and I was like, girls, right, if you complete any of these challenges, you get to add part of the emoji and like build your own kind of one for the whole session. And then I was like, and then I'll ask GU to like post it. Well, I don't think that part happened. But they were like so excited. They're like, okay, quick, let's make all these passes in this zone and like not let the defender get it. And then we get to pick what like hair they're going to have. And I was like, yep, cool, off you go. Yeah. My partner was like, why are there so many emoji apps on my iPad right now? And I was like, oh yeah, but I got the job, so it's fine. Like,
yeah. So go on then, tell us all about Girls United, because we've managed to talk to this point without really like discussing them apart from like anecdotal stuff. But like, tell us about who they are, what you do. Tell us all about it.
I was waiting for your
I'm not doing an intro.
Of our Mexico team. Like Girls United, founded by Romina, like amazing, incredible kind of person. Really, like, you think I'm competitive, she's so driven, like, and well-rounded and just perfect in the sense of like, I want to go do this stuff for the community, and I want to go like make things possible, and what is then needed, and very open to that kind of sense. Whereas I'm like, okay, cool, but like, how am I going to move that many footballs to this location? Because that's a bit wild, a little bit more logistical in that sense. But the aim is just around how can we make more women and girls like have that access and kind of confidence to go be active. Obviously for us, that is mostly like driven by football, but then we've done bits around like our schools in terms of just like PE accessibility, like how do you get active in a playground, because that can be very like male dominated, and then like what does that mean off pitch, so what does the workforce look like, and kind of just really explore all these different options powered by like football and the kind of love for that, which is incredible. So when I started at Girls United, I think we had about 7 sessions and about 40 girls, and it was pretty much me, Romina, Camilla, our marketing person, and a few volunteers, to like today we're about 60 groups a week, nearly like 1,000 plus girls a season. And like not a huge team, so they still graft and get through a lot, and that's always really impressive for me. But it's a lot busier on my day-to-day schedule and stuff, so I don't mind that though.
That's mega growth though, like
especially during COVID. Like I always forget that we had a bit where we weren't even on the pitch.
Yeah.
And we were delivering sessions like via web, like Zoom and all the Google Meets and all those fun platforms.
Yeah.
But each time we came back, I think people were just like, okay, I want a structured play. Like I want somewhere where they can go and do this. And yeah, each season's just been around, well, what does like deepening impact mean in terms of, cool, we've got a reach, but how do we see them more? How do we like integrate? Like even recently we started a pan disability session. So like, okay, cool. Yeah, we work with loads of women and girls, but there's this area that we're not actually supporting. So how do we go and help them from an intersectional perspective and go, well, are we even representing our like demographic of the community? So what does Lewisham look like? What does like Lambeth look like? How does that differ to Southwark? So it's been a real like learning curve, but so much of it is just how we get to connect with people and like using our lived experiences. Like Romina's is very different, like growing up in Mexico and then like studying in kind of like university like in London and what that means, and even like time in New York versus mine just in South Croydon. And it's interesting.
Yours sounds better, don't worry.
My footballing career maybe, but yeah, but her flight miles are wild. And we do joke a little bit around like, yeah, our playing styles on the pitch as well. So I think for me though, it is just like, okay, cool. We've like, how do we do this? And yeah, then hearing from others in our own team and going, well, what does our community actually need? And like building from that, which is super sick and inspiring really.
And what are the girls like who come and play? And if someone's like listening to this or watching this and thinks maybe my kid this sounds like a good fit, I'd like to get them involved, what can they do?
To be honest, like I think what we've tried to build is like an opportunity where the girls can pick what they want to do. So we have like 3 key programs in London, like our schools program where we go in and we support the girls that maybe aren't in the after school sporty clubs. Like how do we go help them like feel more confident, give them a bit of a space? And some of that is like playing playground games and then turning it into football versus just going, okay, like here's loads of football. And then be like, what? Like, so that's quite fun. I think then the next thing is like, okay, from those schools and from the centres, we go, okay, here's a youth space or here's like an open community space, like just turn up and play. And that is all around like, okay, now you may have a bit of a like understanding or fun about football interest. How do you now turn that into something that's like a bit more of a community and different people meeting each other versus just in your school? And I think that one is like so underpinning of like then falling in love with football, because you're like, oh, I get to meet my mates from school, but then I also get to meet you, and that's so sick. Like on a Sunday morning we've got about like 50 girls turn up to Peckham Rye. Like we have to set up all these pitches. The council were like, yes, Abby, you can have some more space, like, which is helpful, but it's so fun like just seeing them like just rock up from all different areas, turn up and then like have their hour session, then go. And then we have our like more traditional kind of grassroots teams that play twice a week, play in a league. Even that league's kind of grown as like we've grown and other teams have grown around us. So for me, that there's been a real like kind of transition in London. But I would say the main thing is all the girls had their own individual, and we always talk about, right, it's an individual in a team sport, and yes, we could go just coach the team, but really it's like, how do you help each person be part of that team and be part of the group? So I think it's just relating to them really.
That's quality. Must be really rewarding, that element. Obviously you've been through a coaching journey, you've done so much already, but it must be really rewarding to see the difference that you're making in the female space.
Yeah, massively. And some of that difference is just literally like kids wanting to watch for the first time and like crying behind their parents because they're so overwhelmed that they're like, oh, I don't know if I want to try this, just to then like in a few weeks later like them being on the pitch and stuff. And then you've got the whole different end where like when I joined, we had one player and she was amazing. I was like, do you know what, I wish I could keep you here, but like it would actually be a disservice to like stop you. And like kind of she ended up at Charlton at Chelsea now and like played for England youth. So there's like these whole different things that are really inspiring, and it's not like, oh, one's better than the other. It's just like that's just their part and the kind of thing that we've done. But I think as we've grown at Girls United, I also feel so inspired that like other coaches, other volunteers, other people also get that, and they're now starting to see some of that success. And I'm like, okay, it might not be me directly all the time now, whereas 6-7 years ago it would have been. Now I'm like, okay, how do I help that snowball, which is super fun.
It's an amazing sign of growth, that as well, when you can not necessarily be the boots on the ground yourself, quite literally. Actually. Yeah, you definitely will. Yeah, I'm getting that. But also knowing that what you've built is facilitating that for so many other people, but therefore also so many other women and girls as well. I think is so special, because from what you were just saying, even just like turning up and having a community in school and out of school on a weekend, I feel like as men or as boys, we take that for granted because that's just what we've known as kind of something that's normal and what we were brought up around. And I guess, have you seen that changing, like since the Euros and like the explosion of women's football and the success of the Lionesses and everything? Have you seen things like massively expanding since then, or has it been more about what the club are doing in your local community, or has it been a nice kind of blend of the two?
I think it's exploded, like not just with us, but like with different clubs and different spaces, and you know, even if that's initiatives and stuff like that. I think we've always been a little bit like, has the Euros elevated our number of girls? Maybe not, but maybe what it has done is like help the girls see more visibility and actually keep some of the girls in there longer, versus like, oh, now we're seeing like X number more. And I think like the story of like being able to, we actually had some of the girls on as mascots for the final, right? Unbelievable.
No
like,
way.
People were crying. Yeah, like
That's
it was
unbelievable.
so sick. And like they got to walk out for that final with like England and Germany, right? So they were like, this is insane. So like those moments will never leave them. So I don't think that's like brought us loads of people, but it has created moments where they're like, oh, I spent it with people here, or I went to MK Dons and like kind of watched the game there, or I went like, they went to like, I think it was Manchester for the first opening game. So all these things around it, I think has created like more depth and like kind of like stories for them, like, and feelings and emotional kind of attachment, should I say, like, and I think that then keeps people in it more versus going. But I think around us, we've definitely seen like more places start and more people join back in because of it as well. So I would say, yeah.
We were talking before as well that when you've got a role model that you can look up to and you can kind of follow them, whether it be you, whether it be somebody on a pitch that you're watching live on Sky or whatever it may be, I think that's really helpful too, because it kind of normalizes what you want to do. But also, I hear from a lot of people that will say, okay, well, I was the only girl. And so people, or my parents might have said to me years ago, I know, do what the other girls are doing or something like that. Whereas now I think because these things are on TV, they're being normalized. They're not abstract concepts. It's so much nicer because there is this huge community of girls that want to play. And now there is actually a place across the whole country where they can go evenings, whatever it may be, and I think that's just amazing to see. So
no, I think it's so incredible, and I think like for us, the other thing has been around with those role models, like letting them kind of pick and vary. So we get to go, like from places like Wembley down to like Peckham Rye, where our home kind of first session ever started, and everything in between. So whether that's tier 5 and 6, like women's teams, we've had like Dulwich Hamlet like players come and coach with us. We've had like Arsenal coaches come down. Like it really varies. So then the girls can go, okay, this is who I resonate with, versus us go, okay, well, this person's going to be a role model, and that's all you have, like kind of thing. So and they've had some unbelievable moments in terms of like meeting Chloe Kelly, Aggie Beaver-Jones, like all these different people, and I'm like, if I had that as a kid, I think I'm like, oh my god.
How did that happen? Did you facilitate that, or did they? How does that work when they kind of come to the club? And
we've got a few different partnerships, like really, and we're quite fortunate that the people that have that network then go, okay, well, we're putting this on, we know what you do within the community, how can you help us elevate that? And like, for example, someone like Nike is like really fueled our like schools kind of partnership, and we're unbelievable, like kind of grateful for that. But also we're like, well, actually we do really good work, so like this is kind of deserved. And we're talking about that hard work, right? So if you work hard, sometimes the right people will come and like back that and support that, and I think that then like elevates it. And I think sometimes again, like just asking and being kind of relentless and going, okay, cool, like what can you help me with, and doing that, I think is super helpful. And when they come, again, if you can put on a really good like moment for them as adults, then they'll always like, I think word of mouth is so powerful. So supportive of the kind of sponsors and kind of more corporate partners that like have that network with the athletes, but also just making sure it's for them a great experience of like, this is what Grassroots, like look at all these people that want to engage with you.
It comes back to a theme that we've been discussing on the podcast about grassroots clubs sort of undervaluing what they have in the community, and not just how important they are for the people within them, but also in terms of access to that community is really valuable. So when you have, sponsors like Nike or whoever, they want to access that community as well. Whereas a lot of grassroots clubs sort of think of themselves as, almost requiring donations as sponsorship. But actually, it's a theme that we talk about almost every week. Like you've built something amazing. You've got huge amounts of goodwill from the people that play, but also the parents, and see the impact you're making in the community. Like that's how it should be. And then through those opportunities, you can, the kids, the people who you want to make it really enjoyable for, then also end up benefiting from.
It's all about increasing participation, right? And the more cash you've got, or the more awareness that people can give you, whether that's on different platforms, like a podcast studio that you mentioned, whatever it may be. I think if you can be on different mediums and therefore other people see you, you get more people playing, more people participate. Because that's what it's about, right? The grassroots clubs aren't sat here going, we're here to earn a load of money. That they're generally either loss leading, not for profits, run by volunteers, doing it for free in the main, that rely on just goodwill from everybody. And I think as soon as people understand that and they go, actually, these people are doing it for the benefit of my child. And if it's not for the benefit of my child, it's maybe for the benefit of my children's child or my mate's child or whatever it may be. And that's the community that you're going to grow up in, that you're going to be around for a while. And you want them to have discipline, community feeling, all the things that sport, not just football, but sport brings. And I think as soon as we start talking about it in those terms and saying, this is what you're behind now, this is what you're backing as an organization, I think suddenly you change the whole narrative from to like a really powerful movement of what grassroots sport can bring.
I think especially when it's grassroots of like young people, I'm always like, they're the ones that are going to take like our jobs or our spaces next, or they're going to go make something even better. So if you can like influence them or support them and help them grow, they're going to be the next decision makers anyway. So I think that's super, super important. And I think my CEO will probably be like, no, we will take sponsorship and donations, by the way. But I think, again, the thing that we've then like kind of worked on is like, well, how do we ask our young people in our community, like, what is their feedback? Like, what is their like kind of preferences? What do they like? Like, are they going to go turn up to something? And even realistically, sometimes that then comes down to like, are they going to be consumers somewhere? Like, are they going to go use something, right? Like, and I remember first when we got given loads of match day tickets and it was hard, we were like, what do you mean you don't want a free ticket? Now it goes out and it's like gone straight away. And we're like, so even that kind of being a consumer of like, now I'm a football fan, that's like massively grown just through, okay, now they're playing more, they're more involved in like their own journey, but now they are wanting to go watch other stuff. And I think that's super important as grassroots. Yeah, like you said, how do you help someone else? And you're not just kind of asking to like for the sake of asking, but you have something in return as a kind of like fulfillment or an opportunity.
Yeah. Let's round off with just going back to you personally. You are already very experienced, but still relatively early in your coaching journey. Like,
I thought you were going to say young, but
skirted around it.
I didn't know where he was going to go with that.
I don't blame you.
But you are like early in your coaching journey. Like you've filled like a lot in that time, and like we've already spoken about the experiences that you've had. You've received accolades from the county. You've done your B license. I'm just wondering like what you think the future looks like for you. Well, if there's anything else you want to achieve and do in the future.
Interesting one. I always keep an eye out, like, and I'm going, okay, what is coming up in general? And, we were speaking about like, UEFA A's and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but also like, I think that isn't where for me, big inspiration and like kind of internal motivations come from, because I always feel like there's people that want to go coach really high level. I think the diversity of the workforce at national teams and that kind of stuff could improve, but I'm like, I think that will happen. Whereas I'm like, I want to really go create like new ways to go and engage like our community or make it like sustainable, so no girl is left behind because they're being charged X amount, or if we need to go change a format or a way of playing, like how can we go do that and be innovative like in the community, so then they might make it onto like these pitches. And I think for me, like, I'm always like, okay, well, how do I go do that versus like go chase a certain job or chase a certain title, for example. So it's more around like what environment is going to allow me to go do that versus a set kind of like stone. But that being said, again, like, yeah, if a player makes it, I would definitely be shouting about that on LinkedIn, no doubt. So I'll be happy with that too.
Yeah, making a difference to people's lives.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I think we can all get behind that message. Abby, it's been so lovely to have you down here.
Absolute pleasure.
And chat. Keep doing what you're doing, smashing it. We'll keep in touch. If people want to follow you, do you have like a public Instagram or like LinkedIn?
Nah, my Instagram is closed off because working with young people again, I don't want too much hate from them. But Girls United's open, so you can definitely follow like all our work and stuff. My LinkedIn is open, so yeah, that's all good to hit me up.
Brill. Well, we'll put all of Girls United's links in the episode description, so please keep your eyes out for what they're doing amazing work in the community. We'll keep in touch, maybe do a follow-up episode and maybe come down and see you. Yeah.
You invite me up to Manchester, or
well, I mean,
if you're willing to make the journey, come on
you're
up.
more than welcome. But London, I think, is where it's. Well, Manchester's grassroots football scene, I think, is amazing,
vibrant.
actually. Yeah, it is.
It's very diverse.
Yeah, right. We're going to get into a whole new topic on the podcast. We're rounding it off. Abby's very busy. Thank you very much for watching, listening. If you've enjoyed it, like, subscribe, all of that stuff, and we'll see you next time.